Hello and welcome back to the Done Deal YouTube channel. My name's David O.C. and today we're reviewing the Suzuki Swift. Now this one is the third generation. It came out in 2017. In 2021 it got a little bit of a facelift, different kind of styling, but most importantly a huge amount of emphasis is now on safety, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But let's talk about prices for this, because in new car world this is phenomenal value. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's €17,770, and that comes with so much spec. Apple CarPlay, emergency braking, adaptive cruise control. It literally has it all. This one actually only has one option. It's about €380 and it's for this pearl white paint. So value is definitely in the Suzuki Swift. Now if you'd like to search for Suzukis for sale, you can hit the link up there, I think, and you can find over 1,000 trusted dealers on Done Deal. It means you can buy confidently and securely. Now let's get into review. Let's talk about the design, because when it comes to the way it looks, Suzuki has got a lot of competitors. There's the Ford Fiesta, which looks fantastic, the Peugeot 208, you've got the Volkswagen Polo, there's some Korean counterparts. It is a very competitive market. However, A, this is a lot more affordable than all of those, but B, it actually looks really, really well. Now, the standout feature on the rear is this reflective light down there. I do think that looks really good. On the side, I really like the way the doors open here. Very Nissan Juke-esque. And then at the front, it's got a bit of a happy look to it, which I really, really do like. Now this is the SZL, however, you can spec it higher up to the SZ5, and that comes with some carbon diffusers and a spoiler and a different front grille that looks really, really nice. So, what does the interior of an €18,000 Suzuki look like? To be honest, you're going to be relatively and pleasantly surprised. So, first thing I notice when I get in any car is the steering wheel. I really actually like this Suzuki steering wheel. It reminds me somewhat of a Mazda, which is a good thing. I really do think Mazda have some really nice steering wheels. Then here you've got your kind of infotainment system. Now it has all your radio, your phone connectivity, and it works really, really well. Has to be said, a little bit more laggy than some of its competitors, but it's also a lot cheaper. And most importantly, it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And look how quickly it connects up. 1, 2, 3, and we're connected. Less than 3 seconds. Some cars you can be 5, 6, 7 seconds, which can be frustrating when you're on a phone call and you lose the person for a minute. In terms of storage, well, down here you've got some storage for your phone. It's also got a 12-volt socket, USB charging point. That's also where you plug in your Apple CarPlay. 2 drink holders. They're actually not that wide, so they'll work for 2 bottles of water, but you won't fit 2 coffees in there. However, there's another cup holder down here, more in the side compartment here, and there's a little bit of storage down here. I also love this, a good old-fashioned handbrake. There is a glove box there. It's not massive, it basically just fits your user manual and service history. In front of you here, you've got your usual speedo and revometer, odometer is that what it's called, and then you've got a digital display, really small, but it has all your information, your speed. You can also kind of change that to what you like. And then on your steering wheel, on the left-hand side, you've got all your volume. You can change the radio station, and actually there's a few buttons down here for your phone. And then over here on the right hand side you've got all your cruise control, your adaptive cruise control. You can change all those. And then on the stalks here on the left hand side, it's all to do with your lights, so indicator. You've also got, you can have automatic lights, change all that. And on the right you've got everything to do with your window wipers. So it's very intuitive, very, very basic, but in a good way. It's not overcomplicated. It does what it says it does, and I really like that. Also, heating controls, dials, buttons. I like that. AC on, AC off. Adjust the heat. It's not too complicated. In the back, the door opens really, really wide, and then putting a child seat in is actually quite easy, especially because there's no covers on these ISOFIX points. So just one less thing to worry about. Now, when you do sit in, you're going to be pleasantly surprised again. Decent knee room. That's my actual driving position, and I'm a tall individual, and I've loads of knee room, decent headroom, and actually it's a little bit narrow maybe, so 3 larger adults won't fit too easily, but it is quite roomy back here for the size of the car. Bit of storage in there, drink holder here, and a drink holder in the door bin there. But one thing I have to shout out is this device here. So if you're new to the world and you've been born since 2000, this is how windows used to open. And it also goes down the whole way. How cool is that? Those are a dying breed, and I actually think they're really, really cool. You can spec it with electric windows, but I'd advise not doing it. So the Swift's boot, well, it opens up here nice and easily, and in here you have about 265 litres, which is more than enough. It's not gigantic. Fitting golf clubs in might be a little bit difficult, but the seats do actually fold down like so. So very, very handy. One thing, and the Suzuki was doing so well, but there's no spare wheel. This was a tyre puncture repair kit, which is a little bit of a shame, but overall it will do the job. Now before we go for a drive, I want to talk about the engines, and then I promise we'll get out there and see what it's like behind the wheel. So in terms of powertrains, well, underneath the bonnet, this always happens. You can never find it when you're actually going to do it. Underneath the bonnet, we have a 1.2 litre engine, and that is actually a 4-cylinder, which I really like. A lot of engines are 3 cylinders nowadays, but actually having a 4-cylinder, it just is a little bit smoother. Now it's actually a mild hybrid. You don't really notice the hybrid thing at all when you're driving. It basically just means the starter motor gets a little bit more of a kick when you're taking off and gives you an extra little bit of power. That said, it's got 83 brake horsepower, which isn't a huge amount of power, but it is more than enough for a little car like this, particularly nipping around town. If it's your first car, or maybe you're a little bit older, it is really, really good. Now, in the UK, you can spec it with a higher output. However, in Ireland, I haven't been able to see that on Suzuki's website. I might be wrong, but I think right now this is the only engine available. You can get it in automatic though, so if changing gears and using clutches isn't your thing, then there is still a solution here. That said, let's see how she drives. So what's the Suzuki like to drive? Well, whilst it is somewhat basic, it actually does have a few really key modern features, one of which is hill start assist. So for example, right now we're on a little bit of a hill and I don't need to use the handbrake and balance with my clutch. In fact, the car just holds it steady, and as you set off, it's nice and smooth. Now that engine, let's begin with that. Well, 83 brake horsepower in a car this size is more than enough. Yes, when you come onto the M50 or the M1, it's a little bit slower and it's not necessarily the quickest, but around town it has more than enough power, and it's actually quite easy to drive. Visibility the whole way around is brilliant, and actually even as standard, it comes with a reversing camera. How cool is that? There's no parking sensors, so you do have to be careful, but a reversing camera nonetheless. Once you get it out onto some bigger roads, it is actually quite fun. As I said before, it's not exactly swift. Sorry, I had to get that in there. But it is great. Really unusually, it has a 5-speed gearbox. So very rarely do we really see them anymore. And usually nowadays, it's 6 gears, which is fine. It's actually perfect, to be honest. But it does mean that you could potentially go on the motorway and almost accidentally put it into reverse. To give you reference, when you're on the motorway in 5th gear at about 120 kilometers per hour, you're sitting around the 3,000 rev mark, which is quite high, but it's not the end of the world. And the reality is, most people who are considering buying one of these aren't doing a huge amount of motorway mileage. It's actually incredible, the driving aids that come with this as standard. So as I said before, it's got a reversing camera. It not only has cruise control, but adaptive cruise control, which means when the car in front of me slows down, this will also slow down and it'll speed up again afterwards. That's so impressive, and it's really easy to use. Another feature that it has, which is brilliant, is emergency braking. So if your kids are learning to drive in this and you're a bit worried about them going out on the roads on their own, the good thing is what emergency braking will do is it'll slam on the brakes if a car abruptly stops in front of you. Basically, it just makes the car a little bit safer and avoids fender benders. I will say, I actually think it's ever so slightly too sensitive on this. So I've noticed a couple of times I'm not even near the car in front and it'll beep at me, and one time it actually slammed on and I fully knew it was happening, but it was just preempting it a little bit too early. Good news is, as always, it can be turned off down here, so it means if you don't really like that, no problems at all. Now, I mentioned that this is a hybrid system, and it's a really mild hybrid, so you actually don't notice it whatsoever. The only time I've noticed it is right now. I'm driving at about 40 kilometers per hour, and as I take my foot off the accelerator, it actually begins to regeneratively brake. So you can see up here on my dash, it comes up saying that it's recouping power, and it slows down a bit quicker. That's the only way you'll notice it, and other than that, it is just a normal car. I think the demographic of people who are going to buy one of these are younger, maybe learning to drive, or who just do short commutes to work, or even older people who just need a car to nip to the shop. And I think Suzuki have done a really good job of making this very user-friendly. My single bone to pick with it is that there's not a volume knob, and you have to slide this here on the screen here. That could be confusing, particularly I'm just thinking if my own grandmother got in it, she would love everything about it, how basic it is, except that would confuse her a little bit. But other than that, as I said, it is brilliant to drive. It's going to be fuel efficient. I haven't done enough mileage to give you a really good indication, but I'd say you'll get over 50 miles per gallon anyway, which, what more could you ask for? So to summarize how it drives, it's very pleasant, it's got some sophisticated technology, and it just ticks all the boxes. And actually, one thing I never mentioned is that it only weighs slightly over 900 kilos, which means it's really light. And you get that sense when you're driving around, which I really like. It just seems a little bit more nimble than a lot of the competitors. So, that is the Suzuki Swift. What's my verdict? The reality is this is a brilliant car, and cars like this excite me far more than some of the more expensive ones, because it's incredible how well they can package it at such an affordable price. I mean, for the guts of 18 grand, you cannot go wrong. In new car money, that's phenomenal. Probably makes it in the top 5 best value cars for sale in Ireland right now. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed my time with it. It's small, it's maneuverable, it's a little bit nippy, and it just ticks so many boxes. So if you're considering buying one, I'd say just go for it. You can't really go wrong. And as Suzuki says up here, Suzuki, it's a way of life. So I really like it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to subscribe, give the videos a thumbs up, and comment what car you'd like to see us review in the near future. If you would like to search for cars for sale, hit the link up there. We've got over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.